Welcome in to the 24/7 Sports YouTube page. I'm Emily Proud. Coach Carl Reed is here to talk about all the crazy changes going on in college football right now. The coaching carousel. Boy, has that thing been spinning all season long. Starting in September, there's probably going to be even more jobs open at the end of the regular season, but we're here to talk about the current openings right now. And because you are a resident coach, you know what it's like stepping into a job and fulfilling a role. So I want to talk to you about some of these jobs that coaches are walking into and the difficulties that they face. What are the first number one responsibilities when you're entering a program during a coaching change?
You had to come in right away, Emily, with a plan to recruit. Recruiting is the lifeblood of the program. It's a very old saying, and it's true. Most guys that get fired because of recruiting misses, misevaluations, not having guys that fit the way that they want to play. So you have to deal with recruiting. The second thing that you need to do is look at your current roster and find out which guys that you're going to try to make sure that they don't leave so they can continue to help your football program, because everybody's been recruiting your roster since the last coach got fired. Everybody's been looking for a guy to get off your team, and so you have to take care of that.
Yeah, what is that like? You step into a job, you're trying to retain your own roster because everybody has the option to hit the transfer portal, and then you're also staring down the barrel of putting together a recruiting class with signing day coming up at the end of December. What sort of chaos is mending those relationships with the players that are in the building?
It's tough because everybody already has, for the last couple of months, been making decisions. Oh, I want to leave. My coach got fired. The guy who recruited me got fired. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know this guy. I don't have a new connection. And it is a tough situation for a coach. But I'm going to tell you what, when they pay you $50, $60, $70 million, you should be able to do tough things, that's for sure.
And another tough thing, too, is mending relationships when it comes to the fan base. Oftentimes, if you are losing your job, it's because you weren't winning, you weren't having success. And so you have to breathe new life into that fan base. How does a coach, when they step into a role, get the fan base on board, not just with the excitement of promising championships, but realistic expectations?
Number one, recruiting, because all fans are fanatical about recruiting. So show that you're going to be active. Create excitement around recruiting. And then the second thing, and the most important thing, and you can't do that till the fall, you have to win football games. That's the only way the fans are going to be happy. That's the only way the alums are going to be happy. The honeymoon is over as soon as you lose the first game.
So if you're stepping into the Auburn job, you can't win the press conference, as you just said. You got to win the actual games. But what is the message to the fan base?
The message is that we're here to compete for national championships, because that's the expectation at Auburn. Now, what we know is that you can win a national championship at Auburn. Gene Chizik showed you that you can do that. But we also know that you can win 5 games and lose your job. Gene Chizik showed us also that you can do that as well. So you have to come in with the mentality that I have to go against Nick Saban. I have to go against Brian Kelly. If I can get through those guys, then the prize is I get to go against Kirby Smart. And man, that's a really, really tough job. But they expect you to win national championships at Auburn. They're putting a lot of resources and money into it. And you have those boosters that you have to deal with, but you know that going in. So if you sign up for that, you should be ready to deal with everything that comes with that type of job.
Another place that has won national championships, Nebraska. What are the realistic expectations for a coach that enters that role?
The University of Nebraska, obviously their expectations are high. They had Bo Pelini, who was winning 9 games a year, and that wasn't enough for them. They want the heyday of when Tom Osborne was winning national championships, and that is what their expectation is. If Nebraska can find the right guy, if they make the right hire, and he has a plan to recruit and bring them back to prominence, it could happen. Nebraska sells out every game, no matter what the record is. They have a tremendous amount of resources. They were beating people in the NIL game. Can they find a groove recruiting? Most people think that it's very tough to recruit at Nebraska. It's off the beaten path. They don't have great recruits within the state and some of the surrounding states. You have to be able to dip into Florida and Georgia. You have to be able to dip into California, but also the transfer portal becomes huge. So can you develop a recruiting plan to get Nebraska to the top of the Big Ten? That remains to be seen. It hasn't been done yet. But believe me, those people in Lincoln, Nebraska, they want a national championship in Lincoln again.
It's the older people in Lincoln, though. Carl, it's been a while.
You know,
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, but it was a long time for Tennessee. You're a Tennessee person.
Yes.
You're a Tennessee fan.
I was barely alive.
It was
yes.
1998 when Tennessee won the national championship with Phil Fulmer. But look at the excitement right now around Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers program. One thing that I know about these jobs, if you have a job that has traditionally at any point been good, then you can do it again if you're the right guy. The reality of it is, though, there are many more jobs open than there are real elite coaches.
And elsewhere in the Big Ten, Wisconsin is a job that we're keeping our eye on from that same standpoint of what are the expectations at Wisconsin. The Big Ten is shifting, probably going to go away from divisions eventually. We talk about these super conferences and what's going to happen when USC and UCLA join the Big Ten. Where does Wisconsin fit in all of this? If you're a coach stepping into that job, what's the message?
The message is, once again, can they go back to dominating, recruiting the offensive line? They've had a lot of huge guys. People don't know how many big guys there are in the state of Wisconsin that play football. Great running backs, great defense. Jim Leonard has been doing a good job holding that thing together. It'll be interesting to see, do they hold on to him being an alum? But they want to be competitive. The Rose Bowl is something that they consistently did for a long time. The right guy can go into Wisconsin and consistently win 9 or 10 games. Great program history, great support there.
How about Georgia Tech? That's an interesting one. Geographically, you look at it and go, oh, you got this stockpile of recruits in the Georgia region. You're in the ACC. You play against top talent. But realistically, you know what the challenges that this program faces. What's the message to the fan base there in terms of what their expectations should be for that program?
Georgia Tech in the heart of Atlanta, one of the havens of recruiting in terms of the state of Georgia, being close to Florida and Alabama. You have some academic things that recruits have to be able to get in there. High academic school, and that has scared some coaches away. But I'm going to tell you this. In my estimation, the majority of the top recruits in the country have very good academics. If you look at the top 25, top 50 high school programs in the country, most of those programs are private schools, or most of them are very elite public schools. The recruits coming out of those programs have great grades. You cannot be scared to go into recruiting wars and win them. That's the key to really winning big. But at Georgia Tech, I think that you can consistently expect to win 8 or 9 games if you hire the right coach. Names I've heard lately, Coach Chadwell out of Coastal Carolina is a guy that I continue to hear, and Bill O'Brien, who is the OC at Alabama, who's a former Georgia Tech offensive coordinator himself. Those are the 2 names that I continue to hear around that job. And Chadwell has done a great job with his option offense at Coastal Carolina. That could be a hit at Georgia Tech in a place that has to recruit the way they do.
How do those academic standards apply with the transfer portal?
Well, it's hard to get kids in the transfer portal because certain academic standards have to be kept and met. And so most of the credits don't transfer in. So it does put you behind the 8 ball a lot of times when you're trying to get guys to transfer in, and there are certain classes that they have that they don't have.
Carl Reed, not available to be a head coach, by the way. We need him here at this desk giving everybody all the great advice and all the great intel. Thank you so much, Carl.
Thank you for having me.